Some abandoned buildings are just abandoned buildings, just an empty shell, while some leave a lasting impression on you. Here's 5 buildings from Yorkshire that seriously unsettled me, with one paranormal experience I can't explain. The old school at Malsis. Now, it definitely didn't help that I went on my own in the early hours of the morning. It also didn't help that I got lost in the basement, and it didn't help that I thought I heard voices in there, and I also saw something in my peripheral which later unnerved me when I heard the stories of the Grey Lady. This place, obviously from the outside, looks the part. Nice old building in the middle of acres of fields, so it obviously looks creepy. Trying to find your way about in the dark, your mind goes into overdrive. Being on your own, you also experience more. When I'm with other people, obviously I feel safer, I don't feel as freaked out, I can put noises down to other things, people that I'm with shuffling about, banging about, etc. When you're on your own and you're trying to be quiet, everything amplifies. So the tiniest noise does amplify. Having said that, I didn't know the stories of Malsis before I went, so I try and go naively without any information of these places. If I hear stories of grey ladies wandering the corridors, obviously I would have that in my mind before I went. So try and go in blind, not knowing anything about the place, and then try and learn a bit about it afterwards. Always a little bit unnerving afterwards, but I think it works for me not knowing much about the place before I go. Hyroids. So obviously Hyroids, being a old Victorian asylum, would have had a lot of troubled patients there, and so the walls will have contained a lot of memories from the past. Obviously they're not the nicest place to visit. I did hear stories before I went in, paranormal tales. People have seen old nurses wandering, floating across corridors and through walls. I did go a couple of times, and I did go with other people, so it wasn't as unnerving, but we did hear bangs, doors slamming in there, and we put it down to maybe other explorers in there, but then we never saw a soul after that. And obviously the little white fluffy cat that kept jumping out on us, which is very strange indeed, because it happened more than once and it kept disappearing till I managed to get this one picture of it. Creepy place, wouldn't want to live there now. It's all renovated and it's all houses, but it wouldn't be for me really. Cookridge Hospital, the first place I ever went on a proper explore. A lad had got in touch with us and said, I can take you to this place, it's old hospital in Leeds, and do you fancy coming along? Being a tail end of January, the weather was awful, it was freezing. When we finally did get in through a basement, bearing in mind a lot of this place had been knocked down, we went under a basement and up through into the hospital. Immediately got the creeps. Now I had nothing to compare it to at the time because I'd not done any exploring, so this was my first real explore, and it was this old cancer hospital. The corridors, it were awful, like Silent Hill type explore. I love Silent Hill anyway for how creepy it is, and this just gave me the same vibes. Now the wind was howling outside, the rain was battering on the shutters and on the boarded up windows, and it just created this awful, scary tension in there. Obviously there were 3 of us, so I wasn't as scared, but it stuck with me how really sad and depressing and awful this place was, or would have been at one time. Um, Trying to get pictures as well, not being that experienced in taking abandoned um, building pictures. Done photography for a long time, but trying to get the pictures and trying to gather what little bit of light there was. It was so dark in there, so dingy, and like I say, the wind howling and the rain battering early Sunday morning was really a horrible vibe. So I was glad I got out there. I didn't really want to go back into that place at all. So that's definitely stuck with me. Drummond Mill in Bradford, before it burned down, we got permission to go into the mill. A friend of mine had spoke to the mill owner and he was down there that day. He said, yeah, you can come round, you can come take some photographs. And I thought he was going to be in there while we was in there. Anyway, while we were going in, he just said, I'm nipping out. It's a year lock on door. I'll lock it behind me. You can open it from inside. I'll be back in a couple of hours. Just lock it behind you. There's nothing in the mill. So I thought, oh, this would be nice. You know, we've got permission to come in here and take some photographs. The thing that struck me first was how clean it was. Like, I like old mills, but I like them when they've just been left to stand. Now, this had been bought and it was so clean, stripped out completely. But no real dereliction, no evidence of, you know, major paint peel or water getting in or plants growing up through the floors or anything like that. It was so clean. Now, the lad had tipped me off before we went and he said, watch it in here because there's some activity. So I laughed and like, yeah, what are you talking about? He said, oh, there's all sorts goes on. So I didn't actually give it a second thought. It didn't register with me at all. So we goes down, forgot what he'd said, and we're walking up and down. Too clean for me. I thought there wasn't enough interesting shots in there. Nice wide, big floors, big roof, big building. Huge place. So we're walking up and down and it had been dead silent when we went in, and all of a sudden it must have crept into us subconscious slowly, but by the time we got to the second to the top floor, we could hear machinery above us or in the building, like machines going off, like old mill machines. And it must have crept up on us slowly because it didn't just happen. And I said to him, can you hear machines? He says, yeah, I've been hearing that for a while. He says, I thought it were workmen outside. And it were just all around us, 360. Like machinery going off. It was so weird. But it had just become a part of the vibe. So we went up some steps. Before this, we'd gone up some steps and I heard a woman's voice in my ear, so like somebody had spoke over my shoulder, and I mentioned it to him upstairs. I says, I've just heard a woman's voice. He went, you will do. He says, especially on this staircase. He said, I told you. He said, you'll start hearing voices and stuff. So I'm like, that was really weird. It was so clear. I can't remember what she said, but it was so clear. And we made our way up to second to top floor. And as we were talking about this machinery, we're walking through this office section. And all of a sudden, above us, big, heavy footsteps. Like somebody heavy, thick set in some work boots. But the noise travelled above us. So we both froze and I says, who else is in here? He says, nobody. He says, he's told us no one's in here. I said, well, there's somebody upstairs above us. I says, we best go see who it is. And we were both like freaked out. We'd both like paused as these footsteps had gone above us. So we legged it to the staircase, up the stairs. We went up to top floor. Not a person in sight, nobody about at all. We went up and down that floor, looked in every doorway, nobody there. Freaked me out. He actually phoned the owner and he said, "Have you left? Is there any workmen in here?" He says, "No, there's only you two in there." He says, "I've locked the door." He says, "I've gone now. There's absolutely nobody else in this building." And he said, "Oh, right, okay." So that, I can't explain it. I can't explain the voice. Anyway, we made it to the end of an old, more derelict part of the mill. And this is a strange one. We're in the corner of this mill, just overlooking Bradford. And all of a sudden, we stood quite close to each other, a couple of feet away from each other. I can hear this man's voice, like a raging, incomprehensible rant. It was like, it was like really, really weird, like somebody just raging, but like nonsense raging. And it lasted about 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And I turned and he went, "Did you hear that?" And I went, "I heard it. It was right behind me." He says, "I know." I says, "I heard it." So we both heard the same thing. It was creepy as all. So I moved away from there. That place, I just still cannot get my head around what happened in there. When I got home, and I put some pictures of Drummond's Mill up, a lady I know used to work there, and I asked her about possible paranormal activity, and she said, "Oh yeah," she said, that place was a hive of activity even when we worked there. She said the lift used to go up and down on its own. She said it'd come up, open, doors would open, there'd be no one there, then it'd go back down on its own. She said there were all sorts that went on in there. So, weird one, because I don't tend to believe in stuff like that again, but I just cannot fathom what was going on in that place. Sadly, it's burnt down now and we've lost the place, a grand old building, and I'm sure a lot of people will be upset about that one. Heslington Hall, situated on the A58 on the way to York, set back in some trees. The whole village was once owned by one person or one family. So the village of Heslington was owned by one family, and they used to pay for the upkeep of the village. Now, when the father of this family died, it was passed to the daughter. The daughter wasn't married, so she was the sole heir of the village. She lived in this big mansion, and Heslington Hall, I believe it was called. And I once saw it on the news, ITV News, about this village being up for sale. I believe she'd passed away. And I just remember looking at this helicopter shot of the village, and as it went over these trees, it just circled around this huge mansion, and it stuck with me, that image. I was like, wow, look at that mansion just left derelict. And it stayed with me for years, until one morning I woke up about 4 in the morning, and I was thinking about the place, and I thought, just go check it out, just go see what it's about. And for some reason I jumped out of bed, grabbed my camera, grabbed my bag, jumped in car, no idea anything about the place, just from this image and this video footage I'd seen on ITV years before. Pulled up, again, no idea what's going on. Sometimes it's better when you're a bit naive, you can stumble your way through a bit more innocently. Climbed a wall, got into the grounds, walked around the place for an hour, sealed shut. Every bit as grand as it looked from the helicopter footage. Walked around the place, like I say, a huge 60-room mansion, I believe. Everything's nailed shut. Last time I'm going round before I go to car, there's a crack open on a second story window, so obviously just ventilation, little crack. Blooming heck, well, that could be good. So stupidly, I tried climbing the drain pipe, made it up. So there's a drain pipe next to it, climbs up this old, thankfully these old buildings have proper drain pipes, metal ones, not plastic ones that would break as soon as you were grabbed hold of them. So I kind of shimmied this drain pipe up onto a ledge, and all of a sudden I'm pulling this window down and I'm actually in this building. So brilliant, that's what I wanted. You know, I wanted to go in and see what it were all about, what were inside there. Nice open window, bit of climbing, bag in, threw myself in this old sash window back up. Silence. So eerie, so dark in there. So I don't know what to expect. I've not seen images of this place before. So grab my bag, tripod out, camera set up. I've no idea. Could be somebody in there, could be alarms, could be anything. So I'm peeking through doors, down long corridors, and this place is creepy. Like mansions. I believe, I don't know if the lady had died in the 80s or it had been left since the 80s, but it would have been grand at some point. And she used to make dolls, did this lady, so I nicknamed it Dollmaker's Mansion. The length of the corridors, just the weirdness of it, really, I was quite scared on my own. Anyway, I'm walking across this landing, all of a sudden, bang! This door slams shut down below. Now I know for a fact it's not an outside door because everything's screwed shut, everything. There's no wind that day, so I'm thinking, what the heck was that? Big door bang. So I pause on landing. I'm like, right, just take a few seconds, just listen. Nothing, so I carried on. Anyway, I did about 4 hours in the place and documented every room. Heard some voices, but I thought they were outside, so I crept up to a window, looking out for things. Never seen anything again. So got out, glad to have done it. Ticked that one off my list. It was a huge win for me. Got back, and over the next 6 months, various people had been in there and had a go at it. It tipped off one of my good explorer friends, and he went with another person to it. They left in a hurry. They said there were all sorts going on, door banging, footsteps following them up the stairs and everything, like heavy footsteps, like chasing them up the stairs. Shadow people in the servants' quarter, which I found odd because, like I said, I'd spent enough time in there on my own. I also heard that an army guy had been in there taking photographs, and I'd heard he'd left in a hurry because he didn't like what was going on in there. He got out of there, shot off, didn't want to go back there. So funny when you go in naively, how sometimes you can stumble your way through these places and don't experience anything. But they're very unsettling places. So hope you enjoyed the video. There will be more to come, unsettling places. There's plenty outside of Yorkshire that I've been, and I hope you enjoy the video. There are some extended full videos from some of these places I've been, and I will be doing the Drummond Mill video that will be coming up. Drummond's Mill video that will be coming up in the weeks to come. So keep an eye out for future uploads. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you all again soon. Cheers, guys.